Well, hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Welcome to CI Acceleration. I am here with Ailish. Ailish, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I can.
I love that. Oh, there we are. I wanted to get us on the screen there. So, yeah, welcome aboard, Ailish. I hope you're having a great Tuesday. Are you?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Glad to be here.
Yeah, me too. It's gonna be a good night. So, yeah, welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome to the CI Acceleration, where we're gonna create some clarity, confidence, and cash flow. Yeah, so yeah, let's get started. Couple of housekeeping. Just get started with. This is live, guys. So if you're here right now, this is live. It's Tuesday night. We are doing the same topic that we did a few weeks back now, but we're gonna try to see if we can make it even a little bit better, be a little more concise. So we're live. First and foremost, you guys could be anywhere tonight, and you've chosen to be with us. So do us a huge favor. Tell us where you're from. What part of the country are you joining us from tonight? We get them all over the country, and yeah. Oh, well, here we go. The great little state of Rhode Island is the first one that showed up. So yeah. So where are you all from? Let's tell us where you're from. I think I should say that one more time. What do you think? Tell us where you're from.
Where is everybody from? I'm from Wilmington. Where are you from, Craig?
I am in Tampa, Florida tonight. Well, I'm in a little bit north in a city called Wesley Chapel. Actually, it's a beautiful little suburb of the Tampa area. So, how's your
Okay.
new
You
house?
got
How's your new
family?
house going?
Oh, it's going great. We're still breaking it in, getting comfy, and fully moved in. But yeah, and we're loving it. Loving the
I love that.
space.
I
We
love
got
that. I love that.
California, Charlotte, another Rhode Island, Boston, Montgomery,
DC.
Maryland,
Here we go. I love that. DMV. What's the DMV?
Portland.
The Department of Motor Vehicles? Is that where you're from, Shirley? So, well, anyway, awesome stuff. Well, hey guys, again, thank you so much for showing up tonight. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking a little bit about um, what makes clarity, confidence, and cash flow. Let me get my PowerPoint moving here. Here we go. All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about finding great deals. And what we're going to show you is how to use PIN to locate properties. The idea is that you're going to come into PIN and you need to know sort of how to navigate it. So me and Ailish are going to take a nice deep dive on how to do that, so that you're sure to be able to locate those properties. Next episode, we'll be talking about deal or no deal, where me and Dana are going to be talking about once you find a property, how do you analyze it? How do you look at it? How do you really figure out if this is a good deal? And then ultimately, you want to make sure that you reach out to these folks and contact them. So we're going to be talking about deal or no deal.
Love
Now,
that.
the following week is when we're actually going to be picking up the telephone and calling them. But the idea is that we want to look at those properties, see if it's a good deal. And then the next step is let's go find the owner, let's skip trace it, and then make an offer. That'll be week 3. And then finally, the last week, we'll be doing what's called cashing in. So we're going to be talking about how do you make money in real estate? What are the different ways? What are the different exit strategies? We're also going to be having Ross go live with us again, which is going to be awesome. He joined us on the last session and it was great. There were so many of you that participated. And so we're really thankful for that. But he'll be joining us again in about a month live. So that'll be really good. I know you weren't there last week, Ailish, but man, you missed a good time. Let me tell you.
Oh, I was watching it. Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a guest listening in, and it was great. I definitely. Ross also mentioned he loved the engagement from the people that were watching, and just the conversation in the chat. He loves to see that. So, yeah, no, it was good.
Awesome. And then also, just so everybody knows, Dana, one of our coaches, is handling our live chat tonight. So Ailish and I won't be really. I mean, I might see some questions, we might comment on them, but we won't be really answering. We're going to let Dana take care of that as she goes through this. So Dana, you're amazing. Thank you so much for
Yes.
taking care of that for us. We really appreciate that. All right, so let's get started. First and foremost, this is what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to talk about property searches. We're going to look at the easy or the map mode, and we're going to take a dive into the advanced mode. And these are the two primary ways for you to find those potentially motivated sellers. Whether you're using that advanced mode or that easy mode, we're going to show you both of them. We're also going to talk to you a little bit about the customer alerts. So whenever there is a new opportunity that shows up in an area of interest, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be notified of that, and we're going to show you how to set up those notifications. And then the third piece is our automation. when you're investing in real estate, one of the things that you have to remember is that it's a numbers game, right? You've got to send out more than one postcard. You got to make more than one call. And if you really want to scale your business, we want to show you how to automate that process. Now, we're not going to dive too deep into that, but we're going to show you where you can access that and start that process. And if you decide you need some help, well, we'll be here to help you out with that. So
Yeah.
those are the three things. Ailish, go for
And
it.
Craig, one thing that I love about this is that in order to get the automations for all of those that are like, oh yeah, that's the part I need, you've got to understand step one and step two in order to get there. So all of these steps build on top of each other to get you to that place of running a seamless business using PIN. So yeah, buckle up and we've got a good session ahead.
Yeah, we sure do. So good stuff. Well, thank you for that input, Ailish. You're absolutely right. It's a building block, and really, just so that everybody will understand, the whole series is a building block, right? We're not talking about contracts tonight because we're not there yet. What we really want to do is figure out how do we get in and start using PIN so that we can identify those properties that are potentially motivated, and that's what we're going to show you tonight. So, awesome. All right, now. Obviously, we always like to mention if you have legal questions, we have insight. I don't like to give legal advice because unfortunately I'm not a lawyer. I love to argue and I love to debate, but I'm not a lawyer. Ailish, I don't think you're a lawyer, are you?
No, no, I'm not there. Nope.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I will say this. Somebody asked about the scripts. On one of our other sessions, we're going to talk more about how do you connect with and talk to the potential seller. That's not tonight. What we want to do is focus on how do you use PIN to locate these properties properly. So we will be going over that at a later date, but it's a great question. Thank you. Right, so next slide. Okay, one more thing. If you are lucky enough to be on this tonight and for whatever reason you don't have PIN, I don't know how you got here, but I'm excited for you. That's amazing that you're here. If you don't have access to PIN and you want access to PIN, all you simply do is text I want PIN to 910-600-0631. Again, I want PIN. Just text it to 910-600-0631, and one of our uh,
Software
education,
expert, yeah.
one of our guys will reach out to you. One of our guys will reach out to you and have a conversation. So if you don't have PIN and you want it, and if you don't have it at the end of this, I'm betting that you're probably going to want it. So go ahead and write that number down and then just text I want PIN. Awesome. Very cool, very cool. Next slide. All right, so what I want to do is let's just start from scratch, Ailish. All
Okay.
right. So we're going to treat this session like you've never even logged into PIN before. You've
Got it.
already purchased PIN and you want to get involved. You want to get inside a PIN and start playing with it. So the first thing you're going to do is you've got to sign up. So that's the first thing. So you're going to hit that little sign up button. When you hit the sign up button, it's then going to walk you through a process. And you're going to choose member. So as a new PIN member, you'll choose member. Then what you're going to do is you're going to fill out the form. So it's going to ask you for your first name, your last name, your email address. I want you to confirm the email address. Then what it's going to ask you to do is do like a verification. And so what you'll do here is whatever it's telling you to touch, whether it's the clock or the truck or whatever, you're simply going to do that. You're going to select the terms of service. I agree to the terms and conditions, and you're going to hit continue. Now, when you hit continue, what's going to happen is it's automatically going to get you signed up and get the process started. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you an email. So whatever email you signed up with, that's where you're going to go. Go to your email, and what you're going to do then is you're going to follow it back to the login screen. So the login screen is very simple. You come back here, you log in. Then what you're going to do is you're going to hit your username, which is typically your email, and then your password, and then you're going to hit sign in. Now, before I go to the next page, I want to point something out. At the very bottom of this page, there's a link to sign me up. That link signs you up for any of the accelerations that we have. So if you're on tonight, you may have signed up through this link here. You may have signed up inside of PIN through the Resource Center, but just so that you know, you can always sign up right there on the login page. And we're very serious about the acceleration. That's one of the reasons why it's on that sign-in page, because we want you to come to these accelerations. This is going to be your best resource for really understanding how to use PIN and move through the real estate process.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now,
And Craig, one thing I
yeah,
wanted to add, so for
please.
anybody that maybe just bought PIN but already has an existing Connected Investors account, if you purchased under that same email for the one that you log into with your free account, it'll automatically have PIN included with it the next time you log in. So reach out to Member Success if you have any questions about that, but you shouldn't have to create a second account just for PIN.
That's right. Such a great point. So if you already have an account, it's a free one, and then you signed up with that account, it's active now. Now that you've gone in, it'll be active. So you'll be able to log in with that. Really good point. All right. So before we get all up in this thing, I want to share with you all something which I really like, and it's this little button up here on the top. I hope you can see that, Ailish. Can you see my little
Yep.
red pointer there? What's
Yes.
going to happen is that is sort of it's kind of a walkthrough, and what it's going to do is it's going to point out all of the most important areas on this main user interface. And so let me click through this so that you'll also know what it looks like. So when you first log into PIN, it's going to actually welcome you aboard. It's going to say, hey, welcome to PIN. Let's show you around. And so you're going to hit next, and it's going to show you where the search bar is. We're going to touch that tonight. And we're going to hit next, and it's going to show you where the filter menu is. So if you wanted to go and look for properties out of town, out of state, you're going to use that filter menu. You're going to hit next. Then we're going to show you the card and the list view. We are going to show you this tonight and get diving into it. We're going to hit next. We're going to show you the save prospects. Everything that I'm pointing out, we're going to show you what they all look like. So there's your save prospects. And then you hit next. And then there's the workroom, next, the resource center, which we're also going to look at tonight. And in uh, uh, more subsequent sessions, we're going to be going into the resource center in more detail. We also have the marketplace, which is where you can find funding, list your properties that you've got under contract. Then you have the community, which you absolutely want to participate in that community. The importance of the community is that you don't want to be on an island in this business. You really
Okay.
want to create relationships with people. And what I will tell you is the community is a great place to do that. Everybody that's there is like-minded for the most part. They're there to try to meet people and make money. So we encourage you to get familiar with that community area. And then the last piece will be your account. So when you first logged in, when you first signed up, it asked you some questions and you went through and you answered some. And if you click on in the top right-hand corner, you're going to have, like, if Ailish's account was up, it would be an A with a circle and some color as well.
Yep.
So that's the start. So then we go there. And then really just go ahead and let's start flipping, or let's go look for properties to start flipping. Now, if you ever want to watch that again, all you simply have to do is select the that little eye that's right there. Just click it again, and it'll run you through that whole walkthrough again. All right, so this is what we call the map view, or the easy mode. One of the guys I used to work with used to call it the map view, and he's right, but we call it easy mode as well. And what you want to do first and foremost is you want to find your area of interest. So you've come into PIN, you're like, all right, let's go find some property, right? That's what everybody does when they first get it. They want to find properties. So what we encourage you to do is start looking for an area that you have an interest in. Now, I use my hometown here of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Portsmouth, and you don't see it here, but you can kind of see it. It's right here. I choose whatever drops down. So you don't just type in the name and then hit enter. You want to wait for PIN to actually populate the screen with the city or the county or the zip code or whatever that you're looking for. Then what you're going to do is you're going to select your area of interest. And what it will do is when you select the area of interest, whatever properties are in that area, it's automatically going to pull them up for you. Now, what we want to do, though, is we want to start filtering. We want to start looking at the different property deal types, right? What's your favorite deal type, Ailish?
Oh man, it's a toss up. Sometimes I'll go with vacancies and other times I'll do pre-foreclosure. Ideal would be both, but in easy mode, I'll kind of go back and forth between those two. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the vacant, out of town, high equity, that kind of thing. But I'm a fan of the probate because I think it's a nuanced conversation. So when you go in and you have conversations with the probate folks, they're individuals that have inherited a property. maybe they don't want it, maybe they're got too many memories or whatever. So
Sure.
I like looking at the probates. Truth be told, they're all great property deal types, and they all tell you something about the property, which is what we're looking for. What would be the motivation? And so when you're looking at these property deal types, I want you to keep in mind that this is the primary motivation for this property. So if a property is vacant, that's considered a motivation. Now, does that mean that they want to sell, Ailish?
Not necessarily, no.
Exactly. So that's why we give you 44,000 zip codes worth of data so that you can go out and play this numbers game. So what we do is when you're looking at PIN and you select this little green um, thing right here, this big box here is going to pop up. Now, it won't be quite as big as this because we don't fit it all in there, but these are all of the deal types that are there. So we've got the multi, the vacant, pre-foreclosure, the CI marketplace, we got the liens and the mechanics liens and the different properties. What I will say about this is in the easy mode, you can only choose one motivation at a time,
Yep.
although for your ease of use, we've created the one called multi. What I would say about multi is the property has to have multiple motivations in order for it to show up. If
Yep.
you only have a property that's vacant and then there's no other kind of motivation, it won't show up in that multi. So what I
Yep.
would say is play with it. Have some fun with it. Kind of, search around. You want to say something?
Yeah, when you're looking at the multi, the other thing to keep in mind is while you can't choose which motivations are stacked together, there is potentially a higher chance for them to be willing to sell because there are multiple motivations associated with that. So if you're not sure which one you want to start with, you can always select multi, see which one pops up most often in that area, and then if you wanted to filter by one in particular, you could narrow it down that way. So
Yeah, that is really, really good. I love the multi because it's sort of a one stop. You hit it, and then you find all the properties that have more than one motivation. And like Ailish said, those ones can be the most motivated based on the fact that there's more than one factor. So
mhm.
then we can choose the property deal type. And then what you're going to want to do is if you really want to like do some filtering, you're going to hit this filter button here. So then when you hit the filter button, it's going to open up a separate page. And this is actually the picture that you see on that first page is a picture of these right here. So again, we've got all of the deal types that are listed. So we have the ability to expand all of these so that you can see them all at the same time by hitting the expand all button. And we also have the collapse all. So if you had everything open, it was just too much going on, you could collapse them all. And then you can go through and you can expand or collapse them individually if you'd like. Um,
The
Go ahead.
default view is to have them all collapse. So if you're looking at that and you're like, wait, I don't see all these options. If just hit expand all, you'll see everything, and then you
That's right.
can narrow it down.
Exactly. Love that. So, but let's talk real quickly about the deal types. So you've got your deal types. These are the types of situations that a property is in. So it could be a probate or a courthouse or, zombie property. And what I tell folks is they're all possible. They all have opportunities there. If you're looking for some low hanging fruit, go with the multi, go with the vacant, go with the pre-foreclosure. Those are going to be your low-hanging fruit, so
But
to
keep in
speak.
mind, everybody's probably going for those in some way, shape, or form. So that's why it's called low hanging fruit. There's a lot of people reaching for them at once. It's those the harder to reach ones are potentially profitable as well, and not as many people are reaching for them. So something to
Exactly.
think about.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I personally like the probate because the conversation's a little bit nuanced, and I think that the most folks are a little bit nervous. They're thinking, "Well, oh
Mhm.
gosh, someone passed away, or they just inherited. How long is it going to take?" And so I like the probate because of the nuance there. Um, Awesome. So then we're going to show you the different categories. Let me get on the page here. All right. So we got the deal types. We've got the motivation status, and this automatically is the default. So
Mhm.
when you come to this page, the motivated status is going to automatically be checked. Um, you can look at non-motivated if you want to. I like the motivated ones. That's up to me. So that's what I like. You also have the property type. So in this case, we show you residential, which are the single families. We have the multifamily, which is the duplex, the triplexes, the 4-unit apartments, and then we do provide apartment complex information, which is another one of my personal favorites. I'm currently working on several different deals in the apartment world, which is it's been a blast. And those are typically considered commercial, and they're 5+ units. So you can look at those property types as well. If you don't select any, you'll receive them all. If you select one of them, that's what you'll receive. If you select two, that's what you'll receive. So initially, I like to see what everything is, unless I know I have a lot of property, and then I might just check the residential or the multi to get it really usable or workable. Then we also have the type of ownership, which is, um, it's one of the primary sort of motivating factors is, if you have a vacant property, right, and the owner doesn't live in town, they're out of state. Is that a good motivation, Ailish?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, I think so too. The idea is that if you have an owner that isn't sort of there, it's kind of out of sight, almost out of mind. And if it's been vacant for any period of time or any length of time, that could be a significantly motivating factor. Now, we don't know, but we still want to pick up our phone or we want to send them a card and get in touch with them. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing to think about is when it's vacant and they don't live nearby it, it's harder to maintain it. So
That's
even
right.
if they were occasionally filling it with a short-term rental or something like that, it might not be profitable enough for them to want to continue that business. It's probably harder for them to do any sort of maintenance if something does happen while there's somebody renting it or staying there for a weekend. So tired landlords are a real thing, and if they're far away from the property, it makes it that much more motivating for them to get rid of at times.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I'll give you a little golden nugget. Whenever you're talking to a potential landlord, don't stop with, hey, have you ever considered selling this property? I don't know how many times I've personally and worked with people that have asked that question of a landlord and they say, yeah, not this property, but man, I've got 15 other properties that I'm interested in getting rid of. And
Yes.
that's I've seen that happen. I had it happen recently with the apartment complexes. We had reached out to an individual and said, hey, are you thinking about selling? And the gentleman said, yes, this, and we have 20 other apartment complexes that we're looking to move.
Yep.
So for me, it's a no-brainer. You got to ask them, hey, have you ever considered selling? If not this one, do you have anything else?
That's right.
So I like that. And then, right, and then you have the ability to do some filtering based on some of your activities that you've done in the past. All right. Then this is still the same filter. We have the property grade. And what this has to do with, and we'll talk about it a little bit more as we look at the card, that has to do with the amount of equity that the property has. So we'll talk about that in greater detail shortly. Then the value range is really just the range. It's kind of like the ARV range. What's the value of this property in this area. You can find properties specifically based on value ranges. You can look at square footage. You can look at the type of motivation that they might have, whether it was, a property that had a lien or maybe has a lien on it, maybe that has been in pre-foreclosure at one time. Properties go into pre-foreclosure and come out of pre-foreclosure often. And
Yep.
so that information can be really helpful. And what would be the value of knowing, Ailish, that a property was in pre-foreclosure at one time?
Oh, there's potential for it to happen again.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So even if they're not currently in pre-foreclosure, it's still a great connection to make because you never know what circumstance may rear again. And so we don't look past that. And then the other one that you want to look at is repair level. Repair level is going to be really important. There's certain circumstances where repair level is going to have a greater impact. If you're wholesaling, I don't care about repair level. The only thing I care about is getting a good estimate so that when I'm making the offer, I have a sense of what kind of repair might be needed. And what I love about repair level is while it's not exact, it's better than a guess. It's
Yeah.
actually giving me some information about the property based on the age of it, the location, if there's ever been any kind of permits that have been pulled, anything like that, the age of the property, that is all taken into consideration when we're looking at that repair level.
It's
We'll
a
talk.
great starting point
Yeah,
when you're trying to have a further conversation about the property. You've got an idea about just a gauge on where the property rehab is likely to be. So that could give you some suggestions for how to follow up in additional conversations. And while you're wholesaling, even though you don't have to fix up the property yourself, it is important to have an idea about what the rehab level is because you're going to want to make sure that the end buyer also sees this as an attractive opportunity.
that's right. Yeah. And this is just a really easy way to not have to bang your head on the wall thinking, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how to make an offer. I don't know what the repairs are." We're going to give you a number that will
Yep.
allow you to make a fairly good guess. And then obviously once you go out there and you look at the property, you're going to have a much better sense of what that repair level will be. But it's such an important thing and you can actually look by repair level. I know that we have one of our coaches, Jenny. She looks at properties that need major repair. She
Yes.
likes major repair because she's a fix and flipper. She wants to go in and put her stamp on it. That's why she looks for those properties that have the potential for major repair. So keep that in mind as you're looking at them. Awesome. All right, next slide. Oh, and then we have the search button. So what will happen is once you hit the search, it's going to allow you to find property. But let's jump into some more of the filters really quickly. So there's a couple of different filters that we're going to talk about. I mentioned that we dive deeper into property grade. We're also going to look at the repair level. Now, property grade is based on the amount of estimated equity in the property. We're not 100% sure that that's the actual estimate, but we're going to guess. Again, it's very, very educated. So the equity is based on A, B, C, D, and F, and the grades are a property that's A is 50% or more equity. A property that's B is 40 to 49, C is 30 to 39, D is 20 to 29, and then an F is less than 20%. Sometimes it's got negative equity. And then there is one other one that shows up very infrequently, and it's NA. And that's if we just don't have enough information about the mortgage and the property where we can make that decision on how much equity is in this property.
Craig, why would this be important for a wholesaler or fix and flipper buying holds when you're trying to make a decision on whether it's a good deal or not?
Yeah, so one of my favorite searches is this: vacant, out of town, or absentee with 30% or more equity. The reason that equity is important is it's their leverage. It's their what they've got in the property. The more equity, the more negotiating power you're going to have. So, very simple example. If the property was worth 300 and um, they owed 100 on it, how much equity do they have, Ailish?
Roughly, quick maths, 60%.
Right. So about 200, which is 62, 64%, something like that. The idea is that that property has a lot of equity. But what if the property is in bad shape, right? What if it needs, say, $75,000 worth of repairs? If there was no equity, that would be a very tough deal, right? If there's no equity and it needs a lot of repair, say they owe 100 and it needs $200,000 in repair, there's no equity whatsoever, that's going to be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So equity is important because it'll help you figure out what kind of exit strategy you're going to have as well. Was there anything else you were thinking of specifically, Ailish?
No, that was
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, I
Yep.
think this is something that our, especially the newer members, will call and ask our member success advocates for additional insights on. So I felt like having you as an expert clarifying that was perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So equity can be your friend. Also, keep in mind if it's a pre-foreclosure and there's no equity in the property, who has the leverage in that scenario?
You do as the buyer, because the seller is going to lose the property, very likely going to lose the property either way. So
Yep.
you can either save them from having something on their permanent record without any possibility of profit or financial benefit,
Hmm.
or not.
Yeah, getting a bankruptcy on your credit is the worst. It can be up to 10 years to get that off. So the idea is that, if there's not a lot of equity, it's a pre-foreclosure, you do have a little bit of leverage, and part of your job will be to help them understand that you're trying to save them from that foreclosure, from that terrible credit. That's part of this. You really do need to help people, and so having that equity there can help you as you're looking at a property.
Hmm.
The next thing that you want to look at is you want to look at the repair level. And so with the repair level, this is where it gets a little tricky. So I hope that this will clear it up for you. When you're looking at repair level, you're going to see it a couple of different ways in the big bit of data. But what you typically see is the minor, the average, or medium, or you're going to see major repair. And the rehab effort, what we've done is we've broken it down. So when you're looking at the investment card, which we're going to look at in just a second, you're going to see repair level and then you're going to see a number. If you see the numbers 0 to 3, you're going to want to, in your mind, as you're looking at it, assume that it's going to be about $15 to $20 a square foot. If you see a repair level of 4 to 6, you're going to assume it's going to be a medium repair, and you're going to want to use $30 to $40 per square foot. Just a quick tip, if it's 4, I would use 30. If it was a 5, I'd use 35, and if it was a 6, I'd use 40. If it's 7 to 10, now we're talking $50 plus per square foot. Now, a lot of folks are going to ask, well, I'm out here in California, or I'm down here in Alabama. Aren't those estimated repair costs going to be different? The answer is yes and no. The way that they're going to be different has nothing to do with materials. Typically, Home Depot and Lowe's, they typically sell the software. I mean, the software. They sell their lumber, their products for roughly the same price across the country. It does vary a little bit, but it's typically the same price. The one big differentiating factor, do you know what it is, Ailish?
Tell us.
It's the contractors. The cost of labor is what the difference is. So the idea is that in Alabama, the labor cost is different than it is in California. So when you're figuring out your repair cost, you do need to take into consideration your labor cost. It's typically 10 to 15% greater from like Alabama out to California. And I spoke with Jenny about this just to make sure I wasn't fibbing. And she said that is spot on. As a fix and flipper, she says the main difference is your labor cost. So just keep that in mind, guys, when you're trying to figure out your estimated repair cost.
One
Yep,
really neat thing about people who are in the fix and flip world when they are basically their own contractors, like they do the work themselves. I know, I believe Jenny, her husband, does a lot of the work on the properties, and she's kind of taken on that
that's
same
right.
and started to do the work herself as well, which saves a lot on labor. So you may find an end buyer that you work with that does a lot of the heavy lifting, and to them, the rehab effort is going to look like a lesser cost no matter where. So it really does depend on who you have within your circle as well.
Yep. And the thing about the rehab effort is, once again, it's a very educated guess. And the idea is
Mhm.
it's just giving you some data, some ammunition, so that when you're thinking about making an offer, you could make an offer based on the estimated repair cost. You totally could do that. It would be fine. Even if you didn't walk the property, they said, well, it needs this and this and this. Sounds like a medium one. I'm going to throw $30, $35 as my estimated repair cost. And when I get good at that, really good at that, my buyers are going to know that. So when I say,
Mhm.
hey, it looks like this thing's going to need about $40 a square foot, and I've been right on the money, previously, that buyer that I work with is going to know that. I actually have a couple of buyers that trust me when I present them opportunities. They say, hey, yeah, let's do it. So keep that in mind when you're looking at that repair level. Really important. Yeah. All right. So what we have here is what we call the map view, and this is what's called the investment card. And so what we want to do is we want to click on that. And when we click on it, what's going to happen is you're going to get the picture as the first image. So you kind of already see the picture here, but you'll actually see this picture. And then right below it, this is what we really want to focus on. So wherever you see the word investment card, this is what we're going to focus on. So let's take each one of these one at a time. So the buyability score. Um, let's put it this way. The buyability score is artificial intelligence. And what it's doing is it's taking about, 40 or so different data points about the property, the area, the mortgage information, the owner information. And what it's doing is it's putting weighted factors on each one of those data points and then analyzing it. And what it's doing then is it's spitting out a score. And what's the score range, Ailish?
0 to 50.
So what does 50 mean?
It is an estimate, but a very good educated guess based on the data that tells you this person is very likely going to be willing to sell the property compared to somebody that's in the lower range on the scale. So 50, highest probability of being willing to sell based on public data, and then 0 would be not at all likely to sell. There may be a chance, something that we don't know, so it still could be worth pursuing, but we don't have anything that really has shown a lot of leverage for the reason why they'd want to sell.
Exactly. But here's the key to it. It's data. It's an
Hmm.
indication. It's not an affirmation that they are going to sell. all it's saying is, hey, based on this criteria, there's some factors that this looks like it could be a really good deal. Truth be told, you won't know until you connect with them. And even if it has a lower score, I still want to connect with these people because the truth is it's a numbers game. And if
Yep.
I'm omitting a bunch of deals because it's got a low viability score, because maybe there's not a lot of equity or whatever the case might be, I still want to see if that person might consider selling. Just because they don't fit all that criteria doesn't mean that they wouldn't be interested.
And
I like,
Craig,
go ahead. Yeah.
even if they do say no, I love how you have taught some of our members on how to close that conversation, and keep the door open, keep the window open, because you never know if 3 months down the road they decide that they do want to sell or something comes up and they've got a positive relationship with you as a potential buyer or
Hmm.
wholesaler to
Right.
help them sell that property.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's important that when you're having a conversation with somebody that you're not using these numbers in that conversation. That's not what we're talking about. This is just like information that'll help you as you position yourself with those folks. If you've got a nice high viability score, say you've got 50 of them that have a good viability and you got 50 that have low. Well, I'm going to try the high viability first, but I'm then going to also go through the lower viability ones. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Perfect. So that's the viability score. Um, and again, the score range is 0 to 50. The next one is the motivation, which is just showing you what kind of motivation it was, whether it was vacant or the multi or whatever. But the one after that is the rehab effort. And this is the one that we were talking about where you saw the numbers 0, 3, 4 to 6, and then 7 to 10. So if this is 4 to 10, what's this one considered in a rehab effort?
That would be average,
Yep.
or medium,
Yep.
and yeah.
And so what constitutes average or medium? Well, put it this way, it wouldn't be adding new rooms and knocking down walls and replacing, roofs and ACs and plumbing. It would be sort of cosmetic, like stuff inside. Maybe you resurface the kitchen, maybe you do some floors, maybe you give the house a paint, it needs some landscaping. Maybe the windows have got to be redone. No major tear down and rebuild, but it really needs some a little bit of elbow grease. It needs new cabinets and things like that. That's
Yep.
going to be like a medium repair. And then, with the big repair, the major repair, we're talking new rooms, taking new bathrooms, cutting rooms in half, adding new rooms, all that stuff. That's considered major. And so it's really just based on the public and proprietary data that we have. It's data, and we're relying on it. We're hoping that it's good, and so we're going to basically use that as a gauge. And then there again is the rehab effort 0 to 3, 4 to 6, and then 7 to 10. The next one is the value score. And the value score is really just what this property is worth. Is this property a good value in the neighborhood? And it's taken it into the tax records. It can't really look at things that it doesn't know about. But this property, based on all of the different factors, it shows up as a value score. One of the reasons is the estimated debt. Right now, it doesn't show any estimated debt, which means it probably is a house that's owned outright, right? So if it is owned outright, if there is no debt to this property, then that's also going to bump that value score up significantly. So that's the value score. Um, right. Next one is the deal score. We talked a little bit about debt to value. We didn't talk about it, but it's basically the difference. So if it's worth 300 and they owe 100, you'll get a percentage like 60% or
It's the
whatever that
percent
number is.
equity. Yeah.
Right.
So when we're looking at
Exactly.
that, if you remember, it was A through D and then F.
Right. Exactly. Perfect. Um, then we have the estimated debt. Then we have the tax value, um, and the deal score. Oh, right, right. The deal score. This is the one that's A through D over here. I'm trying to look at two different screens to get these right here. So
Oh,
Um,
sorry.
no, no, it's okay. Awesome. The next one is the tax value, which is great. It tells you what the property is assessed at. Now, this happens every few years. It doesn't happen every year, and it depends on the assessor for your county. They'll come out and reassess the property from time to time. And what we're showing you is what it was most recently assessed at, which in this case was 139.
And that does reflect in the value score as well. Both of those come from tax records. So when you're thinking about it, it's annually to every few years, depending on the location and all of that fun jazz. So
Yep, exactly. Love that. Thank you. And then the last one is the value price range. And this is the one that I kind of mentioned earlier. What the value price range is, it's really the range from an ARV standpoint. So if there's properties from 300 to 500, that would be the value range. Your property might fall in the middle somewhere. That you're looking at, but this value range just gives you an idea of what the neighborhood, what kinds of properties are in that neighborhood. I mean, if
mhm.
you have properties that are 100,000 and a million, you've got a crazy little neighborhood going on there, because they're all different types of properties. So that's something to consider when you're looking at the investment card.
Another thing to keep in mind with the value price range is the bigger the standard deviation, the greater, very likely that a greater area to try and find those comparables. So there's a lot of variability in the types of properties. So if you've got a cookie cutter home or neighborhood that has 5 different models and it's a really big neighborhood, the value price range standard deviation, or how much it varies from the median, is going to be smaller than if you're in a neighborhood that's maybe a little bit more. It was built in the early 1900s or something like that. It's going to be a lot different and more of a complex, broader standard deviation typically. So that
Yep.
does matter when you're looking at the price range.
Yeah, great. I wanted to step real quickly. Alfredo was asking a question, and
Sure.
I wanted to just sort of recap. He had asked about the rehab cost. How do you figure out the rehab effort cost if you don't have the opportunity? What we're doing, Alfredo, is we're giving you a range, and the
Mhm.
range is giving you an indication of what that rehab effort might be. So again, if you're looking at the little screen here, if we're showing you a rehab effort of 4 out of 10, what we're saying is, based on the record, the public record information that we have, the age of the property, all of those things, we're saying that this property is probably about a 4 out of 10 for the effort. And the way that you figure that out, there's two ways. One, you can use PIN, or two, go out to the property, walk it, run a full property inspection on it, and then you'll know exactly what the rehab is. However, we can't do that every time, which is why we provide you with that rehab effort level. So again, this is a rule of thumb: 0 to 3, 15 to 20; 4 to 6, 30 to 40; 7 to 10, you're looking at 50 plus per square foot. So I hope that clears it up for you, Alfredo. Thank you for letting me repeat that. Awesome. All right. What's next? Oh, the rest of the card. So as you're going down the card, you're going to get information about the mortgage. So you get the interest rate, the estimated balance, when the mortgage was taken out, what the total mortgage was, who it was, all that good stuff. It also tells you facts and features about the property. You'll also get exterior details that goes down even further down the page. What kind of parking it's got, property, construction details, all kinds of good information. All right. And then further down the card, we're going to provide you with a snapshot of some of the investor comps. So area properties that are very similar, that have sold recently. These are properties that are going to give you an indication of what this property might be worth. Now, again, this is a very high level comparable. We have the everything report that I don't think we go into detail on it until a couple of
I think
sessions
that
from
one's
now.
later on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different session, but we're definitely going to cover that in everything report, which you're going to actually have those comps built out for you in that report. And then we do at the very end of that card is we show you some properties that are similar, just to give you some ideas of what you're looking at. So that's the investment card from top to bottom. So now when you're going down it, when you're looking at it, you'll have a very clear picture of what each one of those sort of, you know, little
So
numbers and
yeah.
categories mean. So that's the whole point of that. Good. All right. Now what we've been looking at the property card. Next thing we want to do is we want to take a quick peek at the list view. So the list view is just exactly what it sounds like. It's a table view of the property. So if you have, in this case, I can't see what the number is because I put my little arrow over the top of it, but I want to say there was like 900 properties or so, maybe even more than that. And what I'd like to do is, I don't like to sit there and analyze every one of the properties from the property card. Now, when I first started using PIN, I did that a lot. But what I found worked a little bit better was if I really just wanted to get into and start connecting with these folks, because the truth is, I'm not so worried about all of those amazing numbers. Those mean way more to me once I've found somebody that has said yes. Hey, I might be interested in selling. That's when I'm going to really look at that investment card and really analyze that rehab effort, the deal score, and all of that. I use it as an initial sort of, pass through so that I can find properties that look good. But I'll tell you, once they say yes, now I'm really going to go in and really run the numbers, look at the comps, and really take the time to get into that investment card.
Craig, there were two things that came to mind while you were talking about the previous habits of kind of looking at the investment cards and just looking at all of the numbers right away before you even get in touch with the homeowner. And what we call that is analysis paralysis. You get so sucked into the numbers and trying to decide if it's a good deal or not when you haven't spoken to the homeowner yet. It may not even be worth crunching the numbers and trying to make that decision if they're not interested in selling. So getting on the phone with them first is huge. The other thing that stood out to me when we were talking is the tile card view. A lot of our members, if they're getting started and they're brand new, it can be really easy to get really honed in on if the property looks attractive. And oftentimes the ugly houses are the ones that the end buyers want. So if you're looking to wholesale, it doesn't need to be a pretty house.
That's right.
And oftentimes the ones that have the best profit aren't going to be pretty houses. So that's something else to think about if if you're on the call and you're listening, and that's if either of those habits are something that you've picked up on or that you recognize that you do, listen real close to what Craig has to say next, because this is really the next step that you want to take to have a change in what's working and what's not in your real estate investment journey so far.
Right. Thank you. That's and you're so right about that. It's absolutely that analysis paralysis, and it's easy to do. I mean, we all do it. We kind of look at a property and we look at the picture and we think, oh, that's beautiful. I'd like to live there, and that's awesome. But that's not what you're doing. You're not trying to live in these properties. I mean, unless you are. But if you're trying to wholesale them, what you really want to do is you really ultimately just need to get to the potential owner. Like, got to
Yep.
get to that motivated seller. So what I like to do is I like to go into the list mode, because the list mode provides me with the ability to look at a lot of properties in a list view. I'm kind of the guy that will look at the property, I'm going to skip trace it, and then I'm just going to pick up my telephone and call them. Or I'm going to find all of the property addresses, and then I'm going to find all the mailing addresses, and I'm going to put a postcard campaign together and send them to there. And I'm not going to worry too much about rehab efforts and repair levels and all that, because I just want to have people that are raising their hand saying, yeah, I might be interested in selling. I'll worry about those details once they've said yes or no.
Yep.
So the list view is a way for you to avoid the analysis paralysis if you can. This is what we call the table list view, and it looks like this. So if you've been in PIN, you've spent any time in the list view, this should look very familiar to you. Now, I'm not going to analyze each one of these lines, but I want to show you some cool features of the list view. So the first one is this. You have this list view, and what you have is you have the ability to take this list and pull it right out of PIN. And this is where some of that automation that we're going to talk about a little bit later will come into play. We have the ability to take this list, put it into an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet or the Apple version. I can't remember, but I've got a slide for it. It'll remind me what it's called, numbers or something like
Numbers.
that. Yeah, I'm old school. I'm not a cool Apple guy, unfortunately. So I like the Apple Music, but that's about it. So I have the ability to take this list of properties and get them into something that I can actually work with. So what you're going to do here is you have the exports, and then you also can affect the columns. So as you'll notice, every one of these has a header, and every one of the headers has that little caret, which will do the auto ascend or descend filtering. But you could also get rid of some of these columns. So say maybe you don't care about the value or the value range, or there's some piece of information here that you don't necessarily want to look at. You can actually affect the columns by doing this. What you do is you select this little box right here, and I'm going to go back one. Do you see there's a little box at the very top? It's not these ones here, but it's the very top. When you select that box, oops, let me go this way instead. This is what's going to happen. It's going to select all of the records that you have, and then it's going to open up a couple of extra options here, right? So we've got add any of these to the workroom. We could just save them all as prospects, or we can also export the files.
Mhm.
Um, and then and you can also go back to your existing exports. Um, I was just stopping here.
There's something in the chat.
Yeah, something that Alfredo said. So no, that's not actually right, Alfredo. Let me just address that. If you export the data, which is what I'm showing you how to do, what that is that is part of our terms of service. That once you download that data, that's yours to do whatever you want with. Um, there's no challenges with skip tracing. You can skip trace as many records as you have available. That
Mhm.
doesn't do anything to your membership or anything like that. And so I wouldn't worry about that. But yes, we do have in our terms of service comments about when you pull data out of our system. I mean, you could pull 20,000 records like that and then run away with it. And what we're saying is, please don't do that. So we've put in some safeguards to not allow that to happen. So there is no warning when you're skip tracing. It's only when you are trying to do an export, and that is correct. Um, but you're going to need to do the export eventually so that you can do your postcards or do your ringless voicemail or sit there and do some cold calling off that Excel spreadsheet. So yeah, there we go. Now, once you select all of the records, you're going to have the ability to do the workroom, save the prospects, or export all of the files. And so what we're going to do is we're going to export all of the files. And when we do that, you hit the export, and this is the dialog box that pops up. And what you're going to notice here is you're going to name your export. So if you're in Boston and you're looking at vacant properties and it's July 4th, I would go Boston or vacant Boston, and then I would put the date. But you're certainly welcome to put whatever thing you want there. What's cool is if you do the skip trace manually, my recommendation is this. It's just a rule of thumb. If you've got less than 100 records, just go ahead and skip trace them by hand. It'll only take you 5 or 10 minutes. If you get a bunch of records, 5, 6, 700, anything more than 100, we've included, and it's brand new, the bulk skip tracing option. And what's beautiful about it is you choose the records, and then all you do is hit the export property and contact data button. What it's going to do is it's going to spit it out to our tech team. Our tech team is going to run the skip trace, and then you will get notified when that skip trace is available. It's really cool. If you did it by hand and say you had 45 records and you just skip trace them all, you don't have to put it to the bulk. All you have to do is hit the export property data, and it will automatically create the download for you right there on the spot.
Mhm.
And then once you do that, you're going to be able to go back to, and I'm going to go back just a couple of slides. You're going to be able to go back to this exports button right here, and this is where this will live. So any of the existing or previous exports that you've done, they're going to show up here. And then you'll be able to simply hit the download button. It'll download it into your computer as a .csv file. And then if you've got Excel or Sheets or Numbers, you can use this file in any one of those programs. With Excel, it opens it automatically. With Sheets, you have to pull it into Sheets. So you have to do an import. And because I'm not an Apple guy, what happens with Numbers, Ailish? Do you know? Is it automatic or do you have to do an import?
You don't have to do an import. You just convert the file
Okay.
through. So you kind of right click and convert to, yeah.
Numbers. Perfect. Great. That's how that works. So again, you'll name it. You'll hit export if you want to do it immediately. If you want to do the skip trace as a bulk, send it to us and we'll get it back to you. You'll find that skip trace right there. Then when you download it as a CSV and you get the Excel, the Google Sheets, or the numbers. Pretty slick stuff right there. I love that. Now, when you're looking for the download, I figured I'd show you where you find them. So if you've gone through it and for some reason you didn't find the download, in Microsoft Edge, it's these three little dots in the right-hand corner. You click it and you're looking for the downloads. Pin automatically sticks it in your download folder. In Chrome, same thing. The three dots, you're looking for the downloads, and that's where it is. And in Apple, I did actually have Dan do a quick screen share for me on this one. You go to the Go button, you go to Downloads, and that's where you're going to find your file. So that's how you download it and then retrieve that file. Pretty slick. I like
Love
how
it.
Pin does it. All right. Now, I don't know if anybody has seen this, but this is another new feature inside of Pin. It's our research tool, and I love this thing. It has so many cool uses. Um, but what it's basically doing is it allows you to see properties in the area of interest that you're in that have either listed or sold or recently sold, or they were fix and flips or the rentals. Now, the rentals one is a little hit or miss. I think we may have might have removed it recently because there was
So
an yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
we were doing some testing just to get some general feedback, and we've taken it back down for a little bit, and we're working to make some improvements and enhance the data, and then it'll be back up. I want to say sometime in this upcoming quarter, so in the next couple of months, it should be available for view. Craig, question for you: when you're looking at this as a wholesaler or fix and flipper, why do you feel like this is important information when you're trying to make decisions and you're investing?
Yeah, such a great question. So the reason that, for instance, the recently sold is so important, that tells you what that market is willing to bear. So if I know that a 4.2 that's 1,500 square feet sold for 325, and I'm currently looking at a 4.2 that's 1,500 square feet, I know that that property recently sold for 325. So I don't have to guess what this property is potentially worth. What it also allows me to do is it allows me to understand the market, right? So one of the things that people ask me when I'm coaching, they say, "Well, tell me about my market." And what I tell folks is, let's go use the research tool and get a snapshot of what your market looks like. Because the truth is, I don't know what Boise looks like off the top of my head, but it wouldn't take me more than 5 to 10 minutes to understand what that area of Boise looks like, whether it's all of the properties that are currently listed. So if I see 4.2s that are listed for 375, but the 4.2 that I have that I'm looking at and one sold recently for 325, I know that that might be an overpriced market, right? Also, you don't see this, although I think I may have. Yeah, let me share this. The way that you get to this before I go further is when you're looking at Penn, this little map piece right here, what happens is if you're kind of, I don't know what the word is, you're dialed out, I guess. There's a
Zoomed out.
Zoomed out, right? Thank you. That was the word I was looking for, zoomed out. When you're zoomed out on the map, this won't necessarily be accessible. It isn't until you start to drill into the map, zoom into it, where this thing will become available. And the way that you know it becomes available is it actually gets a green line that starts to spin around it. And then this becomes clickable. And
Hmm.
what happens is when you click it, this little menu right here pops up. Then you can choose, hey, do I want to look at the listed, the sold, the recent, etc. Yes, this is what I want you to see. So I did add these.
So, Craig,
Go
before
ahead.
we jump into the data that's presented with each of these, just looking at this map, something that stands out to me is that there's not a lot of flips that are being indicated just from this view. Maybe once you zoom in, you'll see a few more because there's
Mhm.
some that are kind of clustered with a number on it, which tells me that there's
Right.
a lot in one small area.
3, 3, 14.
But
Yep.
there's not a lot of recent sale, and there's not a lot of flips.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of listed and sold. So it seems like there's just from my own opinion and looking at the data, I would say that this is kind of a market where people are selling at retail value.
That's right. That's right. It is very much a retail market. It's actually my hometown, and it is a retail market. It's a very old town, but they've spent the last 50 years really building it up. It's kind of a little, little local hubbub. It's a very popular town. But you're right. That's such a great observation. This is a very much a retail market. However, that does not mean that there are not amazing opportunities.
Right.
The town was established in the 1600s, so there are a lot of old properties that still have not been upgraded. So there's definitely still opportunities there. But that's a really good insight, Ailish. You're right. That's not this is a retail market. There's not a whole lot of wholesaling probably going on. Irrelevant. This is awesome. This is such a great little look at it because I can hover over any one of these
Yep.
icons. And what it's going to do is it's going to tell me, hey, this property right here, which was this L, was listed on 7/20 of 2022 and it spent 55 days on the market. This property here was listed on June 28th. It was on the market for 15 months or that's not, I'm sorry, it
Yeah.
happened 15 months ago. I don't know what the days on market for this one was. This one here sold in 2022. It was 26 days. It sold for 1.35 and they made 1.15. This was probably a property that was very old, needed a ton of work. When they sold it, it is now a brand new property, and that's why they got that 1.35. This tells me what my market looks like. I know that if I find a property that needs a lot of repair and I can get it for a decent price, I could sell it for $1 million. That's a wicked opportunity right there. So this research tool just gives you another way to quickly analyze your market. I mean, I don't know of any other tools that do it quite like this, where they're putting those recently sold, those listed, those flips right there on the page. And you'll get a sense of what that market looks like just by looking at this. So it's
It's a live
powerful.
comparable report.
Exactly. It's a live comparable report is exactly what it is. Yep. Perfect. So that's the research tool that you definitely want to look at that. What I typically will do is I'll find the properties that I'm interested in, and then I'll go into the research tool once I found the property so that I get a good sense of what that area looks like in terms of all of the activity. So that's really good stuff. Awesome. Now, let's jump into the advanced search. So the advanced search is quite robust. We're going to move through this kind of quickly. What I will say is if you're brand new, focus initially primarily on the easy mode. The advanced mode has some advantages, but it can kind of become a little overwhelming if you put too many filters in. So we're going to show you the filter sets and I'm going to show you a quick hack as well. So when you click on the advanced mode at the top of the page, it's going to bring you to the advanced search. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask you for a location and type. You must put some location. You've either got to put a city, a zip code, a county, or some neighborhood subdivision that can be recognizable. What's nice about the advanced mode, you can do what's called double stacking, which is great. Ailish, I love the way you describe it. Tell them about double stacking.
Oh, double or triple stack. That's another one that's so basically if you think about the multi-level motivations and easy mode, if you were to select multi or toggle that on as your motivation, you're gonna see properties that have 2, 3 plus motivations associated with it. So if there's 2 motivations, then it would be considered double stacked. If there's 3 motivations for a single property, a single homeowner, then it would be triple stacked. So when you're looking at that, you're with multi, you get pretty much any of the above matching as 2 or 3 motivations for a single property. In advanced mode, you can specify which 2 motivations you want to be double stacked, which 2 motivations you want to be triple stacked, and you're only going to see properties that meet all of that criteria. One little like asterisk note to make is that you do need to toggle on stack motivations for that to work. Otherwise, you can select all of those motivations and you would see just a blend of pretty much any property that has at least one of those motivations, if that helps
Yep.
clarify things.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. So remember, you can choose multiple. You can select them all if you want to, but you could choose multiple and then remember to just toggle on the stack
Mhm.
motivations. The way that you find properties the same way. We have the property types. You have the houses, condos, townhomes, mobiles, etc. You can do the multifamily, the vacant land. Here's a great place to look for those apartment complexes and looking for mobile home parks. I have a person that I worked with several years ago. That's all he did was mobile home parks. He bought the whole park. He bought the whole park every
That's
single time.
awesome.
And so he likes mobile home parks. There can be a lot of money made in any one of these property
Oh, yeah.
types. Here, these three are automatically checked. This is a standard. So when it says owned by, we automatically choose person, company, and investor. You can deselect those if you want to, but we choose them because that's going to give you the widest range of potential motivated sellers.
Mhm.
You have the again the motivation type, and then again you can also look at things that you've previously viewed, or maybe you haven't looked at them. That's some other motivations. I mean some other filters. Um, I think that's all I did there. Yep. Okay. The next one is, so we're on the location, but we're also going to check this radius one here. And what I like about the radius is this is also another new feature. It's kind of like the research tool a little bit where you have a specific address and it'll show you properties that are around it. Now with
Mhm.
the easy mode, you're just going off of your area of interest and it's showing you everything, but you can designate so say you have a property like your own home address, right? You go and you want to find it, and I want to find properties within 50 miles of my home address. Well, all I would do is put my address, go 50 miles, and then you would choose the type of property, the owner's status, the motivation, which you do the same thing on the other tab. Go ahead, Ailish.
If you're on and you're thinking, well, why would I do that? If you think about it, if you're new and you're looking for properties that are only in your respective area, it'd be very easy or convenient for you to be able to drive out to, up to 50 miles far away property and view it yourself to get familiar with it. So you've got a homeowner, they've said yes, or maybe they're not answering their phone and it's not indicating that it's an absentee owner, so they live there, and you're trying to knock on the door and actually get in touch with them.
Yep.
That is a great way that you can narrow down the options available, and really get specific with which properties are nearby to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, no, that's it's absolutely right. So the radius can be very helpful for you to see how far you want to go. It's really it's good stuff. I love that. Awesome. All right, so the next one is the ownership tab. And somebody asked a question about building a buyer's list. I'm going to show you a cool hack here right now. So on the ownership, you've got all of the different filters, right? Previous, free incur, all these cool things. I want to show you this one. Oops. Oh yeah, it's this tab. It's this tab right here. So we'll go to this next one. Somebody was asking about buyers. Um, One of my favorite features of the advanced mode is if you are looking for buyers, in my opinion, landlords and fix and flippers are the very best buyers that you can find.
Yes.
But how do you locate them if you don't know who they are? Well, you can go to the courthouse and find all the cash, sales. You can go down to the assessor's office and try to figure out who's buying properties. You can
Sounds like a
call.
lot of work.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of work. There's a lot of heavy lifting going on. What I like to do is I like to choose the landlord and the flipper filter. Now, what you do is you choose your area of interest. You let it choose the ownership type, which is the person, investor, whatever. You let that stay, and then you don't choose a motivation. You don't need to choose a motivation. All you're looking for are the local landlord and investors. What you'll do is you'll select that, you'll hit the search button, and it's going to bring up a map of all of the properties that are listed as either flips by fix and flippers or that are rentals, that are landlords. And what you then do, and I think I go into this a little deeper in another one of our sessions, you pull up a property and you're not looking for the property itself. What you're looking for is who did the fix and flip on the property. So if you do this when we get off this call tonight, if you go into the advanced mode and you go to say Boston and you choose you go to the ownership tab and then you choose landlords and flippers and you hit this little search button right here, what it's going to do is it's going to bring you a list of 4, 5, 6,000 properties. And what you're going to do is you're going to physically select the property address, and then there's going to be a notation in the picture. In the picture, I probably should have an image of it. I don't. I'm sorry, guys. But in the picture, there's going to be a little legend. It's going to say this property was bought this day, and then it was flipped this day for this much.
Little bio.
Yeah, it's a little tiny bio. So you're going to see that. I would encourage everybody to go in there. So if you're looking for buyers, not only do you have the marketplace where you can put things up on the CI marketplace and have the members and the buyers that we have looking at those properties, you can also be proactively creating a buyers list. And this is one of the simplest. I put it this way: I wish I had this when I created my first buyers list. It would have taken me a fraction of the time because I
Yeah.
would have called every single person to say, hey, do you still buy property? Hey, are you interested in more property? And remember, if you're talking to landlords, they might be burnt out and they
Hmm.
might say, yeah, I'm not looking for any more, but boy, I'd love to sell some. That is an awesome way to find those landlords. So that is the buyer hack that I'm going to share with you today. It
Love
is
it.
awesome. So one of my favorite things to do. Perfect. Yep. Got that? All right. And then this is the rest of the advanced filter. So we had the location and type, the ownership, and then the different attributes. Again, same, expand all, collapse all. You can choose any one of these filter sets. Um, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're a very specific, maybe you're a specific type of buy and hold person, and you're only looking for properties that meet very specific criteria, this might be a great way for you to do that. We want it to be there for you so that you can slice it and dice it that way. And then the last one is another new one where you can look for property by the name of the person. So you can put a person's name. If they have a company name, you can do a search. And if we have access to them, we'll bring that information up. So it could be an owner, a seller, a lender, an agent. And that's again another new feature inside of the advanced mode.
Yep.
So pretty good stuff. Awesome. All right. Now let's move on to the notifications, the alerts. So what are alerts good for, Ailish, in your opinion?
Oh man, I love being able to set up alerts because I get notified when new properties fall into the parameters that I've set for my alerts. So it's really great for that. And then it does segue into the third piece, which is the automations element too.
That's right. So with the alerts, what you're doing is when you first signed up with PIN, there was a couple of questions that we asked you, and one of them was, what are your areas of interest? And when you selected those areas of interest, we automatically built some alerts for you in the back end. So say you chose Boston, Boise, and Dayton, Ohio, right? Those were your three areas of interest. You will start noticing in your email every once in a while you're going to get an alert that says you've got 17,000 new properties in the Miami area. I know that because I got an alert today that said I have 17,000 new properties in the Miami area. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to choose specific areas of interest with specific filter sets. So you could do one of, vacant, out of town, the absentee landlord with, A, B, and C property grade, and single family residences. And then what will do for you is anytime new data gets updated, if there's a change to the old data or new data shows up, you're actually going to get an alert that'll look like one in your email, but you'll also be getting this alert here. Now, I use this as an example. When I came in and looked at Pasco County on 9/4, it said that I had 530 new properties that I had not looked at, I hadn't touched, I hadn't done anything with them. So that told me, hey, I've got these properties, and this is residential, vacant. That's the main category. Over here, we had vacant in Naperville. Over here, it was residential vacant in Brevard County. So the idea is that you can set an alert that will let you know when new properties show up. And I think there might be an image of it. No, there's not one. I should probably at one point maybe add an image of what that will look like. So what'll happen is you'll go in, you'll select the alert. When you select it, it's automatically going to open it up in the table list view. And what's really cool is, go ahead,
Well,
Ailish. You're gonna,
actually, when you hover over it, we've had a recent enhancement, I guess you could say, to these.
okay.
So when you hover over it, it gives you the option either view on map or view in table view. So you can
Oh,
see
okay.
the tile cards, or you can see it by list view. So you have the option, but
Beautiful.
I also kind of tend to lean towards list view automatically.
Yeah, exactly. But either way, that works great as well. You can look at the map view or you can look at the list view, and that's fine because I think you can then toggle back and forth between the two
Yes.
once you've done that. And then the idea is that when you're looking at the list, you're going to know which ones are new because it's actually going to say new under the address. You're going to see the word new. You will also see that it's highlighted in a light green background. So
Hmm.
anything that's been looked at or been touched won't have that background and it won't have the word new. So that's pretty cool. I really like that. And what will happen is you'll get a notification to your email. You'll get that either on your phone or your laptop, whichever works best for you. Now, there's a couple of ways to create the alert. One of them is when you first sign up. The other one is to create it manually, and this is one of the ways. So, say you want a specific property, right? Well, I'm in the workroom right now. Let me step back. When you do the alert, what happens is those are the properties that you're going to look at first. And if you go through and you like one and you want to save it, this is how you would do that. So, say you find a property, maybe you've already talked to them and they said, yeah, I think I'm interested. What we want you to do is immediately take that property from wherever it is, whether it's on a notepad or in your Excel spreadsheet, and stick it in your workroom. Now, your workroom is a deal flow. So it's got 5 stages. And what you're doing is when you add something to the workroom, it automatically puts it into the workroom where the little gentleman is walking up the steps. We'll show that to you, and it'll go into the very first stage. And then you can do some cool editing with the workroom feature. But the way you do it is you click this little button right here, this little plus, and when you click it, you'll be green. And then what will happen is it'll be in your workroom. And you go to your workroom and you'll see it. The other thing that you can do is you have the ability to save a prospect. So this is someone that you've talked to, right? So this workroom is someone that you've spoken to, and you already know that they're interested at some level. So you want to get them in deal flow. There's going to be properties that you're going to find from time to time that you're like, ooh, I want to give this one a call, or ooh, I want to call this one later or send it a card or something. But maybe right there in that spot, you don't want to do it. So the other thing that you can do is you can save it as a prospect. And so the way that you do that is you've got a property, you click the little heart. When you click the heart, that's what it looks like. And then it goes into this little save folder right here. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I'd
No
say.
magic there. And that's how you would save a prospect. You can also, if you remember from the list view, you can save a group of properties either as prospects. You can also save a group of prospects. Sorry, it's a tongue twister. A bunch of properties into the workroom as well. What I want to caution you against is putting everything as a saved prospect or everything as a workroom.
Yep.
Those are specialty spots. If you've got a property and you like it and you want to do something with it, but you haven't done anything with it, save it as a prospect. If you've got a property and you don't know anything about it, it doesn't really belong in the workroom yet. Just leave it as a prospect. But if you've talked
Hmm.
to them, you've had a conversation, that's when I would be putting it into that workroom and then visiting that workroom to make sure that I'm getting it through my deal flow process.
Yep.
Awesome. Anything you want to add?
Nope, not at this time. I think I'll have some more stuff once we cover some items in the workroom. So.
Good. Perfect. So this is what the workroom looks like. And the idea of the workroom is it's deal flow, right? So we have uh, properties in different stages. So the first one is a lead, it's a prospect, it's someone that said, yes, I might be interested. And so they would go into this one here. Now, I can't click on it, but I'm going to encourage you all to click on it because what will happen is it's going to open up another card and you'll be able to do some editing. You can add some color coding, you can put notes in there. It's really cool. So I would go in there and play with the workroom. So just add one and then see what that looks like. And then as you're working a lead, say that you decide that you're going to go out and look at it. So you go and you look at 37 what how are you say that 37018 Highland Bluff Circle. I went out there and I did an inspection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it from lead and go to the inspection. So I do the inspection, it's in there. And now what I want to do is I want to make an offer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go run the numbers. And then once I physically make the offer, I'm then going to take this address and I'm going to go from inspection and I'm going to slide it into offer. And so the idea is that this is your deal flow. This is how you find the properties that are somewhat interested, and then you immediately put them in your workroom. And then you work them from this workroom. This saves you a lot of agony because you can look at the property card, you can get the everything report, you can do everything right from here by getting to that property address. So I love that. Go ahead, Ailish.
There is something when you're looking at this view right now, you'll see in the lead section at the very bottom, there are two properties that have the tag new, the green tag. This is something that you can customize, and it's a really great way for you to organize your property. So let's say you have maybe five or six properties, maybe double digits worth of properties, and you're managing all of those. If you had a way to just kind of organize them, maybe there's five different things you want to make note of when you're just viewing them in a bulk view. You may have a tag that says negotiating. You may have a tag that says, pending response or pending acceptance, pending contract returned, whatever it is. Or you can say, pending inspection, whatever, scheduled, call scheduled, however you want to manage those. The tags is really convenient for that. And you can filter by tags as well. So if you have a handful of leads that you're working, you can filter and just see properties that are, well, you can filter by tags, you can filter by location. So it's really a neat kind of mini CRM type of service that PIN offers for you to be able
Yeah.
to manage those properties within the software itself and not have to get an outside CRM if you're just getting started.
That's right. Yeah, it can be prohibitive cost-wise to be
Mm-hmm.
adding CRMs and all those extra things. So this is a great sort of stopgap until you decide to really scale your business. Although we have folks that just use this as their deal flow,
Yeah.
so it's really it's a preference. So, but I really like that the workroom and what it's able to do. Also, just a quick note: this is where if you have more than one login, you would be able to get that set up. And then we're also going to mention. I think we're going to go into the integrations next, but I'm not
Yes.
sure. Yes. So the third thing that we talked about, well, the first thing was advanced and easy mode, the card and all that good stuff. Then we talked about the workroom and saving properties and getting them,
The
save
alerts.
prospects and just getting them, set up. The third piece is the integrations, and this is I'm gonna let Ailish really talk about this. But we have a product that is you've probably all heard of it. It's in the workroom. It's this little integrations button. When you click on it, what's going to happen is it's going to open up Zapier. And so everybody's heard about Zapier. Ailish, talk to us about Zapier.
Yeah, Zapier is a really neat service. It's essentially a messenger between two different platforms. So there are native integrations with over 1,500 different softwares, Pin being one of those. So when you are trying to have the data be sent to an outside CRM, let's say that you're working with, oh man, there's a handful. Let's say you've got a really big system going and you've got Salesforce, or maybe you're a little bit more small scale and you've got Zoho as a CRM, whatever it is. Or you can even do a free thing like Google Sheets, or Excel, for example. What you can do is, with the saved alerts that you have in place, once a week, those new properties that fall into your saved alerts can be programmed through Zapier, so that it sends those new properties to an outside CRM or platform like a Google Doc or Google Excel Sheets, for example. And so Zapier's that middleman that helps, or messenger that says these properties from Pin go here. And you can set up further automations after that, but it's a really neat way for you to be able to streamline your business and lead flow. And we've got a few different ways that we can help you get that set up. You can do it yourself. We've got some in the walk me through the process. If you select that option, that's going to take you to 5 YouTube videos where, if you feel like you've got some tech knowledge and you want to be able to do it yourself, somebody on our team, his name is Stephen Wolf, he's amazing. He's set up these videos and has helped you walk through that so that you can do it on your own. Let's say you try that and you're like, oh man, I don't really feel comfortable with this, or I think I may have messed up. I'm going to see, I need some help. That's where somebody on our team, typically Stephen Wolf, he'll jump in, and for a nominal fee, I think it's $150, he
Correct.
will spend 3 to 5 business days working with you to set up your system. He just needs to know exactly what you want, which platform you're trying to connect Pin to, and he'll do the magic for you, and then you're going to have a seamless running machine. And then the other one is, if you already know Zapier and you want to get started, if you click on the Let Me Get Started, that will allow you to just get the webhook, which is some tech language, but essentially it's what allows Zapier to send leads from Pin to an outside platform of your choice.
Exactly. I love that. Yep, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Zapier is a seamless way for you to have part of this process automated. And what I would say is that as you're scaling your business, you're absolutely going to want to do that.
Yes.
Maybe initially you might hold off a touch before you get fully integrated into that. But as you scale, as you're looking to, not scour those leads every week, you can have them automatically sent over. You can get a voicemail or a text, or you can send it over to, Go Big Printing and have them send out postcards for you, whatever you need. But I encourage you all to look into the Zapier automation if it's something that you want to do. Now, just as a quick recap, we can walk you through it with those videos. Stephen can do it for you. If you decide that you would like for us to do it, there is a $150 setup fee. It's not a negotiation. It's basically him taking care of it for you. And it's just simply reaching out to your member success advocate, and we'll make sure that you and our data geek guy are connected to take care of that. So just keep that in mind. There is a fee associated with that, and we can take care of that for you. So, yeah, that's Zapier. So that's the automation. Another thing that I would say about automation is you don't want to over automate, because if you have everything automating, then you don't really know exactly what's going on. What I would say is automate as, I mean, I keep repeating this, but as you scale, you're going to automate, but there's still going to be some things that you're going to want to do manually. And you'll figure out what that is as you go through the process. So,
I would say that's the same thing when you're thinking about hiring a VA.
right.
You want to be in the business before you get other people to do the business for you and run the business for you. That's the best way to make sure you have quality work being put out from everybody in your team, and you're able to assist them and train people to run things the best way possible.
Exactly. Yeah. If you don't know how to do it, then it's going to be really hard for you to know if the other person's doing it right in the first place. So that's one of the reasons why we encourage automation, but don't have it so automated that you don't even know how to automate. And therefore, I don't even know what just happened. So we want to make sure that you're, you know what I mean? Like, like I had him do this thing for me, but I don't know what he did. And we don't want that for you. So that's the automation piece. So yeah, good stuff. We can walk you through it. You could do it yourself. And we'll help you with it. All right. All right. So one thing we wanted to mention, and this is just, close to Ailish and I's heart. Um, April, I think the date might be incorrect. I think it's the 25th, 6th, 7th, 20. I don't know. It's
Well,
April
you
24th
arrive the
to the
24th,
That's
and
right,
the
Monday.
evening of the 24th, everybody would arrive, and then the 25th through the 28th is when we actually have our live session. And I have absolutely loved our events, and I'm so thankful that Ross was really excited about getting another one set up. And Dallas is going to be awesome. We've
Yeah.
had a really great past two events. And for those of you that found value in this session, imagine being in person with people from our team, myself, Craig, our real estate coaches, mentors, Ross. We've got some people internally on that can help you and hold your hand through setting up your system. And you've got 4 days to work with us and hear from some really incredible people on stage. So
Yeah.
if you haven't jumped on the opportunity yet, I believe there's a handful of tickets left. But do you want to tell them how to learn a little bit more about the event, or
Yeah.
snag a ticket before they're all gone?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't wait. I would get on this quick sooner rather than later. And all you simply have to do is you can either go to the connectedinvestors.com/live, fill out a form, and then we'll reach out to you and have a conversation. Or you can call 910-900-4699, and somebody will actually talk to you. And they'll actually uh, give you all the sort of skinny on how the live works. What I will tell you about the live is this. Um, those 4 days, I've seen people that hadn't been using our software for 2 years
Mm-hmm.
absolutely turn on a dime and realize, "Oh my gosh, look what I have. I need to get started." So, I mentioned the live here specifically because it's one of those opportunities. It could be a turning point in your real estate investing career. It's literally 4 days, 4 and a half days with us, asking us every and any question that you could possibly imagine, and you don't even know what we're going to deliver in terms of the content and the value that we bring to the table. We have literally scratched the surface tonight. We go deep when we go to those live events. So if it's something that you've been thinking about doing and you know that it'd be a great opportunity, I would absolutely encourage you to come out. I'll tell you one quick story. So I'm working with a gentleman named John, and John has been around for a while, and John has an amazing wife. She's a great gal, but his wife was not very connected to what he was doing in real estate, and he decided to attend the live event. So him and his wife came, and they both, you're allowed a guest, and then they both got VIP tickets. We have some fun stuff that we do together, a breakfast and a dinner and all that good stuff. But anyway, long story short. Her name is Karen, and she came to the event. And the truth be told, she was a little standoffish at first because she didn't quite exactly understand what John was doing and why he was so excited to go to this event. Well, she came to the event, and I could not peel her off of my ear. She would not stop talking to me about, oh, Pin can do this and Pin can do that. And so, if you have somebody that you are trying to convince that this real estate thing is the real deal, you can bring them along, right? We come on board. And I can tell you that if you've got someone that's a little bit on the fence, coming to that event is going to solidify. They're going to know exactly how serious you are and the value that we bring. So I would encourage you guys to really consider the live event. It's a blast, and it's so much fun to get to meet people face to face. You see us here and all, and it's good for us too because we get to hang out with each other face to face too because we're all remote in our own offices. So yeah, definitely give us a call. Go to the website and have a conversation. We'd love to see you. It's so much fun. So
Yes.
yeah, perfect, awesome, awesome. All right, and I think I have one more slide. So we've covered property searches, easy and advanced mode. We talked about the custom alerts, when you have those new properties show up, and then we shared with you the automations. This is how you find properties. Now we're going to go into much more detail next week. But before we do that, one of the things that I love to know is what was your biggest takeaway tonight, guys? So there's, about 100 people on the call right now. I would love to understand what thing did we share with you tonight that you went, ah, I got that. Those really help us. That lets us know that we're over the target. And one of the things that Ross had said last week when he was on the session, he said this is one of his favorite parts of these sessions is what were the values that we were providing you, and what were the things that really made you excited. He says that's really important for him because it allows him to know that we're doing a really good job for you. He loves to read the feedback. So, what was your takeaway? Yes, Mark, I know your takeaway is everything. You're amazing. But what was the thing tonight for everybody that really made you go, ah, yes, that was great. That was great. So take some time, write those things in there. Next thing is, if you came in the middle of this and you want to see it again, we're going to be replaying this on Thursday. Now, the cool thing about the replay is going to be this session. So if you're watching it and you're seeing me say, hey, next Thursday, we're talking about when you're watching it. So we're going to replay this on Thursday. It's going to be at 7 o'clock Eastern. And what I would encourage you to do is, if you would like to, come back. We'll be replaying it. Now, here's the key. It's not live, but the chat is.
Yep.
So myself or Dana will definitely be on the chat answering any questions that you'll be asking on that live chat. So definitely, if you want to see it again, stop by on Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern. We're definitely going to be replaying it with live chat. And then the last one is our next session. So next Tuesday, Dana and I will be going live together, and we're going to be now looking at, hey, how do you identify a property? Which one's a deal? Which one's not a deal? We're going to dive deep into that next week. Excuse me, you're not going to want to miss that session. So, yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for showing up. Ailish, thank you for your commentary and your amazing insight. Is there anything that you want to share with our group before we let them get back to the rest of their lives?
Oh my gosh, this was great. No, I mean, thank you everybody for being here, and for Craig for having me. And if anybody needs any assistance, I mean, our team is always available. If you have PIN, you should have an MSA. So contact our success team. If you don't know who that is, let us know and we'll connect you with them. But yeah, no, thank you everybody for being here. This is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, Ailish, I really appreciate you for showing up, and I love working with you. We have a great relationship. We do the lives together, and that's so much fun. I also really want to thank Dana for
Yes.
manning the chat tonight. I really appreciate you, Dana. I know you can hear me. You're amazing. I can't wait to work with you next Tuesday live. But thank you so much for helping our folks here and for giving such great answers. And we just truly appreciate you, and we love you so much. So thank you for your time. And
Yep.
really, everybody, thank you all. Again, I don't like to repeat myself, but I'll do it when it's necessary. You really could have been anywhere tonight, and you decided to show up here tonight. So we don't take that for granted. We truly appreciate it. We appreciate you. Now, what we want you to do is go out there and make this happen. Don't be shy. Start making some calls. Start using that software. Start talking to people, and basically trying to make some deals happen. But with that, thank you all so very much. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you on the replay on Thursday if you decide. But we'll definitely see you all next Tuesday. So thank you all very much. It's been a blessing. Have a great night.